Today's conversation is an important one because I'm joined by William Grand, CEO and founder of NutriFusion, a company that is doing something both innovative and necessary, putting real nutrition back into foods, beverages, and products so many of us rely on every day. At a time when ultra processed foods are becoming more prevalent and nutrition has in many ways been stripped out of what we eat, William and his team are working at the intersection of science, food systems, and accessibility to close that gap. My name is Lori Belinsky, founder and integrative nutrition coach at Plant Powered Collective. And for those of you listening, especially women in midlife, navigating changing nutritional needs, this conversation is going to offer both perspective and practical insight. William, I'm so honored that you're here to spend some time with me today and to share with our listeners both your business to business product, but as well as your consumer product that you offer. And I'd love to start by having you share a bit about yourself. What led you to this work and what continues to drive your passion for improving nutrition at this level?
Um, Thank you. And we started the company in 2008 because we felt we had a way of offering dramatically improved nutritions to the consumer and to food companies, food, beverage, pet, and supplements. So all four are active markets with us, and we have the ability to dramatically improve the health and nutrition of anyone that takes our product, which would be worked in as an ingredient with the four that I just mentioned.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear more about it. And I love the idea that you're providing nutrition to pets as well. We all love our animals. Um, and William, I'd love to start by grounding our conversation in something I like to ask all my guests. And that is what is currently providing you nutrition on and off the plate? On the plate is what we traditionally think of as nutrition, the food we eat and how we absorb nutrients. And off the plate or around the plate is where lifestyle medicine comes in. So it's not only nutrition, but it's movement and sleep, stress resilience, social connection, and the environments we live in. So, what is now currently providing you nutrition on and off the plate?
3 points. First of all, most of how we eat at home is a Mediterranean diet influenced, which
Mm.
over many years has been shown to be extremely positive and healthy to the health of the consumer and the individual that's uh, living that type of diet. We're not 100%, but we are pretty high and consistently are careful with what we eat. Um, Off the plate, our product NutriFusion, also called Grand Fusion, in powdered form. I take a quarter teaspoon every day and have for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. It has many, many health benefits for it because it's bioactive, bioavailable, and bioabsorbable, and it's
Mm.
all plant-based. It's the ability to be absorbed into your body is way, way, way better than other methods that are offered now. So that's the second leg, and then the third leg is uh, focusing on health, sleep, and physical activity.
Hmm.
So I my
Absolutely.
yeah, so my physical activity is I walk um, 4, 5, 5.5 miles a day. So as of right now, I've done about 4.5 miles today.
That's incredible. I am uh, bowled over by that. That's really impressive. I wish I'll have to off camera when we finish. You'll have to give me some tips because I can't find time in my day to get 10,000 steps in. So, wow. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I'd like to ask that question so that our listeners can really, and viewers can really have an opportunity to get to know you a bit better. But building on what you shared about your work, especially, the business to business and the consumer aspect of your work, and the lens you bring to nutrition, where do you see the biggest gaps today and how we understand what real nutrition actually is?
If you take a sheet of paper, ball it all up, and throw it against the wall, that's kind of where health and nutrition is right now. It's distorted. It's confusing. There are a lot of companies that make huge misrepresentations
Mhm.
that are involved in that category. There's some that do it very honorably and very ethically. You've got the whole issue of ultra processed foods, which I hope we come back to as the discussion goes further on. The misinformation and or the partial explanation of what is a problem, and they leave out the really bad stuff, and they just say, "Well, we've done this, and look how good we are," is really not valid. It's not helpful to the consumer because it causes massive confusion for them.
Absolutely. Where do you see the biggest disconnect between what people think is healthy and what actually supports long-term health?
Well, some of what we just talked about a minute or two ago, but what I would recommend the consumer becomes is, first of all, skeptical. Don't
Mhm.
believe everything you hear, even if it's coming from a very large CPG company or a very small company. Be skeptical and make sure that you do some research. Google is a fantastic tool to delve into uh, what people are saying and check it for validity, including myself. You can Google and say, is this guy giving us clean goods or is it distorted? And, they can do their homework and then make up their mind on it.
I love that. So everyone should be their own advocate, in other words.
Correct.
That's fantastic. So, how does NutriFusion step in to address those challenges in a meaningful and scalable way when we talk about nutrition and you talk about a half a teaspoon, which is, not that much, but that's doable to put in a glass of water every day.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so our principal business is selling an ingredient business to business to food companies, beverage, pet, and nutraceuticals. So that our prime business. We What we try to do is put the nutrition back in the foods that modern day processing destroys, and that's a significant point. There's lots of people that'll make claims like that, but they also again, as I said, be skeptical, may misrepresent it. So one of the big tricks is we'll put some fruit or vegetable powder into our recipe,
Mhm.
and we can make a claim that you're getting a serving or a part serving or whatever of fruits and or vegetables. But what they don't tell you is, unless they're using our product not quite exclusively, but pretty well.
Mm.
It is not providing the nutrition that fruits and vegetables supply. Some companies would use synthetic vitamins, which is a very poor cousin to plant-based nutrition,
Mhm.
and they make claims that you take our product or capsule or whatever it is, and you're going to get uh, uh, two servings of vegetables and one serving of fruit. What they don't tell you is what you're getting is synthetic vitamins rather than plant-based vitamins, which I would strongly avoid that type of product completely. And if you go in to Costco, for example, in the fall, and you spend $200 buying supplements, probably, and this is my guesstimation, probably $190 of that's literally going down the drain because it does not have the nutritional value that fruits and vegetables offer.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's interesting. I often get asked by my clients, what kind of supplement should I take? And the supplement industry is not regulated yet, so I always say the same thing: eat fruits and vegetables. Or in this case, and sometimes it's hard for people based on their lifestyle, and I like to build in lifestyle, not rigid diets. And so something like your product would be great for people that find it hard to get in the amount of fruits and vegetables that they need.
Um,
Um, you
yeah,
know
Let me spend a minute and explain our product for
Okay.
your listeners, because it's really quite relevant. All of our products are, first of all, they're based on fresh fruits and vegetables. We use organic fruits and vegetables, and we started with first grade fruits and vegetables, and we found out that the amount of pesticides and fertilizers was way too high, and we cut that out completely, and we use nothing but organic based produce
So
to
good.
um, uh, to develop our blends. We take each fruit and vegetable individually. We have a proprietary processing step that we use, and we ultimately turn it into a powder. The powder is very bioactive,
Mm.
bioavailable, and bioabsorbable. Now, if you
Mm.
take those three words and think in terms of synthetics, they would not be bioactive because they are synthetic. They would they probably will try to make a claim, and with some logic to it, that it is absorbable, meaning
Mm.
that you take the synthetic vitamin, it's going into the body, and even though it's more than likely getting passed out, bioavailable is the word that they would describe it, but it is not bioabsorbable. Our
Mhm.
product is very bioabsorbable. The product is based on plant-based nutrition. We've been eating fruits and vegetables as a humanity for hundreds of thousands of years. Our body knows how to take the nutrients coming from fruits and vegetables and all the enzymes and the other materials that come along with it, and make the maximum use of it. Whereas synthetics produce one um, chemical at a time. It's man-made, and they do not perform to the same level as plant-based nutrition.
Absolutely. And, what I appreciate about your work is that you're not asking people to completely change how they eat, right? You're providing plant-based supplementation to help make those foods, ultra processed foods, healthier. And, I'm a big advocate for this because I like building lifestyles, as I mentioned. And you're improving what's already part of their daily lives. Um, I think what's interesting is that we're both addressing the same problem, but just from different leverage points. You've identified ultra processing as a major issue. How is the intake of ultra processed food affecting human health, especially for women in their 40s, 50s, and like me in my 60s?
Um, okay, ultra processed foods are and I'm going to be really blunt. They're dangerous. You really need to be careful. I'm not saying you should never eat something that's ultra processed. A cookie or some chips and things like that. But what you have to be careful is the volume that you're eating. You really need to get it down to a low level. Ultra processed foods. They offer quite a smorgasbord of things to really be aware of. Too much sugar, too much salt, too much and the wrong type of fats that go into it, low fiber, low protein, low vitamin and mineral content. In effect, there's really no vitamin and mineral content at all. It does things like spikes your sugar, especially if you have tendency towards diabetes, which is something that as you age, you need to be more careful of. And it offers many dangers like a higher chance and risk of heart health.
Mm,
So diabetes, heart health, Crohn's disease, all those, there's many, many diseases that would really should throw major caution flags up to your listeners.
absolutely.
Um,
And so, are we talking about nutrient loss and like metabolic disruption and hormone disruption, or all of those things?
yes, vitamin loss because it was never there in the first place. It's been
Mm.
totally destroyed. So if you want to indulge a little bit, just make sure you're also eating sufficient fruits and vegetables, or taking our powder, which would be another alternative way to provide nutrition and very easy way to do it, and provide a broad range. We have, for example, a 6 nutrient blend. We have a 12 nutrient blend and a 21 nutrient mineral blend, all of which are on our store on the website. Um,
Nice.
and I'm not trying to promote the company as much as I'm just trying to explain an alternative that may work for people based on lifestyle and other things. The other thing is if you can find our product on the shelf as
Mm.
an ingredient, which is somewhat difficult
I was going to
because
ask how you can find that. Yeah, because that might be something of interest. There's so many of my clients anyway that like convenience foods. They don't have enough time to cook. Whether they have their own children or grandchildren, or like me, aging parents that I'm taking care of. And sometimes dinner becomes, what can I quickly grab out of the freezer and, you know, quickly warm up in the oven. I don't like using microwaves personally, but that's just a personal thing for me. Um, but how could I look on the back of a package and say, "Oh, I know that this is going to be somewhat good because it has some NutriFusion product in it."
there's a few ways,
Okay.
none of which are particularly acceptable.
Okay.
We've gone to food manufacturers and say we've got a logo. It's kind of like, remember the Intel logo for computers? Well, we have
Hmm.
the an Apple logo, and we've tried to get um, food manufacturers, beverage, the whole gang of them to put it
Uh-huh.
on the back of their packaging. The resistance is high because surprise reason when you think about it, but logical. The food people don't want their competitors to know how they're making the product nutritious.
Oh,
So it's
interesting. That does
it's
make a
it's
ton of
secrecy.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
secrecy. Yeah, yeah. So one of the things you can find towards the end, you'll see things like a blend of, and then it'll be a list of food of fruit and or vegetable ingredients. It could be spinach, broccoli, carrots, strawberries, blueberries. We use nothing that's strange or fuzzy to the consumer, where they're going to say, "Well, I don't really know what that is." Everything is things that you can buy in the grocery store every day. And then what we do is we process it and uh, g- um, um, blend it and concentrate the nutrition. So if you hold up the end of your baby finger in 225 milligrams, you'll get 50% of the daily value, up to 21 nutrients.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So our product can then go into all sorts of products that are available on the market right now, where
Uh-huh.
they, with really minimum disruption to recipe formulation and so on, they can add our ingredient in. One of the giveaways of our product, if and you see this long list at the end, um, one of the ones you'll find is mushrooms. It's typically shiitake or maitake mushrooms,
Mhm.
and that gives us vitamin D. And
Nice.
so that's a giveaway that our ingredient is in it. The other thing is I can give you some names of some products that are out in the market now that may help.
I would love that. Yeah, I was gonna ask if that's, like, okay, to say it. Yeah, I'd love to hear some products.
Well, I do it a little bit quietly, but
Okay.
um, so you mentioned earlier, end of the day, I got to get something quickly for my kids. So a lot of people reach for the old good old box of mac and cheese,
Mhm,
which has absolutely no nutritional value except for what's coming out of milk and maybe a little bit of the cheese and so on.
mhm.
But there's nothing that's really healthy about it. And they also define a cup, or not a cup, but a serving is about, I think it's a quarter of a cup, which is like nothing.
Yeah, the
If
size
you look,
not even the size of my palm. Yeah.
yeah, so flashback to if people were getting out in life or they're at university and so on. I know when I was there, we went and bought mac and cheese because it was dirt cheap and you get a
Right.
meal out of it. But the calories, when you say you're going to eat a full box and you may get, let's say you get 2 cups of it, and
Mhm.
then you add up what's actually going into your body, and there's no health benefits to it at all. So fast forward, we have a company that launched and has become very successful putting our ingredient in mac and cheese, and the company's called Goodles, and
Oh,
it's in pretty well all the retail stores, and it's in I'm sure it's in Costco. I'm not sure on Sam's.
yeah.
But it's Goodles, and you'll find that it's very, very nutritious because of our ingredient going in it.
That's
The other,
fantastic.
yeah, the other one, there's a really nice company that sells Made Good, which is granola bars.
I'm very familiar with Made Good, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
So
them.
yeah, so again, that's another example, but we're in all sorts of products, but we're the one that nobody wants to admit to because they don't want their competitors to know about it.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but it makes perfect sense. You'd think that they'd want to advertise it, right? Like, oh, we're super healthy. Here's what's in it. But now I understand the reason why.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
do you see your work as
Oh,
improving? Oh, yes,
can I just jump in with one other piece of information? when you're
absolutely.
when your listeners are looking at a box on the shelf, first of all, they've got a fraction of a second to get your attention.
Mhm,
So packaging becomes very important, and the claims on the front of the box become important as well.
mhm.
They're ones that you should be careful of because you need to know the rest of the story. And if you
Oh,
go into the back of the box, you'll find the ingredient deck, which will tell you how much nutrition's in it. In almost all cases, there's zero nutrition, or if there's something that's wheat based because the government made them put iron in, there may be, a
yeah,
fraction or 1-2% of iron or something like that. But really, there's no nutritional value at all. And the other part is besides the nutritional panels, the ingredient deck. The ingredient deck is critically important because when you look at it, if you see a long list of ingredients of which most of them you can't even pronounce, let alone understand what they're used for, that's a good indication that you're dealing with ultra processed foods that you really need to have all the alarms on for. So be skeptical of the front panel for accuracy, and quite often they may say, 10% less sodium. Well, that's reducing something that they've already put into the product. So I immediately cancel that out. But when you look at the back, you may see um, instead of 40% sodium, they cut it back 10%, and it's 36. It's still way, way, way too much.
right. Yeah, sometimes I'll see, they'll say, "Oh, made with avocado oil." And then when I turn it over and I look, it's avocado oil plus a bunch of seed oil and, and palm oil and things like that. So it's on the front it says avoc, but when you actually look at the ingredients, it's more than that, and they do use some avocado oil, but not only avocado
Yeah.
oil.
And
So yeah.
that's a great example because what you're doing is you're checking and you're seeing the rest of the story on the back of the box.
Hmm. Do you see your work as improving the current food system while people are considering transitioning more towards whole foods?
Yes and no.
Okay.
We hope people are transitioning more and more to fruits and vegetables and whole foods, and avoiding many of the pitfalls and the dangers of ultra processed foods. It's important. And what we offer is, as I said, is a healthy alternative to people that can't always work fresh fruits and vegetables into their diet. There's the cost of doing it for one, there's the spoilage for two. There's many reasons why people may decide they don't want to buy fruits and vegetables. A typical pack of ours would provide about 4 to 6 months of powder, depending how often it's taken. It's a little bit more money up front, but it does not go bad on you. And if you keep using it and you use a quarter teaspoon every day,
Mhm.
it'll last longer. If you're like most Americans and you look at it and go, ooh, quarter of a teaspoon, if that's going to help me, imagine what a half a teaspoon where they will do. So they add more.
Right.
Not necessary. If you put too much in, it's just going to pass out of your body and it's a waste of money.
Yep, understood.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I did look at your website, and I did see that product on your website under the store. And for the, I will tell you, yesterday I went to the store and I bought vegetables that will probably last me maybe a week. But also, I'm vegan, so I eat a lot of vegetables. Just full disclosure. Um, but what I'd eat in about a week, maybe less than a week, is the cost of one bag. My point being is that when you look at the cost and then the cost of what you'd spend for a week of groceries, it's really it's negligible. I wanted to ask you, in response to ultra processed foods, how are micronutrients and phytonutrients from fruits and vegetables being incorporated into everyday products?
Okay, let me throw out a couple of new words for you.
Okay.
Uh, One of which is your audience needs to think in terms of um, inflammation.
Hmm.
Then there's two new words which I would really encourage people to look up, or if it makes sense, let's do a second podcast and talk about oxidative stress and free radicals,
Hmm.
all of which are intertwined and tied together. So if they can get sufficient fruits and vegetables, it's going to help on inflammation. Where there's a disconnect, and I'm going off track here, and I apologize. Where there's a
No, no, please.
disconnect,
All information. I love talking about oxidative stress. So yeah, let's go there.
good. Okay, so with inflammation, um, um, that happen or oxidative stress
Mhm,
happens naturally in your body from
mhm,
just daily living. Maybe air pollution,
mhm,
could be you smoke, which would be a big no-no
mhm,
in terms of your health. Alcohol, you could go to McDonald's and get a hamburger. That's going to contribute. You could go just about anything you do in life will contribute to
mhm,
oxidative stress. What you need to do is be aware of it. And fruits and vegetables are really the only proper way to eliminate or reduce oxidative stress.
mhm,
You're never going to eliminate it, but you can reduce it. And if what happens is with oxidative stress, you end up with what's called free radicals. Free radicals are basically cells in your body with a missing electron, and they move around your body looking to try to steal that missing electron wherever they can. So, what happens is it is not the cause, but it's the precursor to chronic diseases, which can be heart diabetes. I mentioned Crohn's.
Yeah.
The list can go on and on and on in terms of what it can impact. So when you were little and your parents said eat your fruits and vegetables, uh, you always did, or with complaints, but it was never properly explained why it's so good. What
Mhm.
happens is the fruits and vegetables provide the missing electron in the free radical and help to balance out your body. That's
Yeah.
a very quick lesson on that, but it's very important. And again, it's one that your audience can easily pay attention to and Google oxidative stress, free radicals, and inflammation, and you'll find it's quite important.
There's so much out there right now, and when you talk about being our own advocate and Googling and checking out information for ourselves, you know, there's a million podcasts, maybe not a million, but there's several hundred podcasts out right now that talk about inflammation and free radicals and oxidative stress, being, yes, exactly what you said, the precursor, right, to chronic disease. And just by eating fruits and vegetables, a more plant forward life, a more Mediterranean style life, any type of diet issues really can be prevented and improved upon by just eating more plant forward lifestyle.
So just carrying on just for half a second
Yes,
longer,
please.
with oxidative stress, free radicals, and inflammation. Um, the worst products you can eat to really drive those up is free radicals. So, and for all it does cause acute inflammation. Um, and I'm generally, by the way, I'm putting off all ultra processed foods in the same category,
Mm,
which are to avoid. There's some people that may argue with me, and that's fine. But and there may be the odd one that's acceptable, but
mhm,
recognize the typical American gets 60% of all their meals from ultra processed foods.
that's mhm,
So imagine what's happening to your body. Immediately, because they're not eating fruits and vegetables, they're not getting the ability to control oxidative stress and inflammation, and it just keeps multiplying. Now, in terms of your audience based upon the demographics that you mentioned, the process of developing chronic diseases takes many years.
yeah,
So the only way you can deal that with that is by fruits and vegetables, so, or our product. But um, it if you are eating nothing but ultra processed foods, you're doing nothing to protect yourself and control inflammation in your body. So it's a double edged sword. You're eating the wrong thing, which is causing it to multiply on the problems. So it's something that, based upon your demographics, your audience really needs to be aware of.
absolutely. It's one thing that both my audience and the clients that I work with oftentimes will say, I don't have time, or it's very interesting to me because I always say, in your business, right, you make an investment. You make an investment because you know the return on the investment will be high. You put in good databases because systems are important, and do the same for yourself. I myself have a really busy life. However, making that investment in that time is important. It sounds like it's easy to make some investment with NutriFusion. If someone listening wanted to take action today, what are 1 to 3 things that they could do immediately? To be healthier, to improve their nutrition.
Diet, um, sleep, and fitness would be three really, really strong steps.
Yeah, and
Um,
and and that's where I always have pushback. I'm always like, with nutrition, when I get pushback from clients, I'm like, oh, but, and I'll have all the reasons why, maybe, to focus. But yes, sleep and movement, those are things I push back on, and words of wisdom for sure.
yeah, and if I was going to add a fourth,
Yes,
avoid as much as you can ultra processed foods. It really is detrimental. Ultra processed foods really started to evolve I'm going to say early 60s.
Hmm.
And the food companies spend a fortune uh, trying to get you addicted to their particular food. And I'm using addicted a little bit in quotation marks, but also with a lot of facts to support it. One of the
100%.
methods they do is add a lot more sugar into the
Hmm.
food. Sugar is highly addictive. The human palate has a real strong tendency towards liking sweets, and so that's a factor. Salt's another one. So you add in all the multiple ingredients that are used, and what they really want to do is to have you uh, want to come back and buy more and more of the product. Remember, check the
Absolutely.
bag.
Absolute right, exactly, and you mentioned about diet, and one of the things that, I've listened to some other, podcasts and interviews that you've done, and you've talked about a diet assessment. Can you expand upon that a little bit?
If you're able to um, get a dietitian, go in and talk to them. I mean, it can be eye opening. They'll check your weight. They'll ask questions. They'll find out
Mhm.
what you're eating, what your preferences are, and then they'll come back with a whole series of recommendations what you should or should not do. And
Absolutely.
we've done it. It's probably 10 years ago we did it, and um, we were doing a lot of things right, but there was also some red flags that we needed to do better. You know,
Absolutely.
one of which was um, we'd have a glass of wine at night. Well,
Mhm.
the recommendation was, cut it out. You don't need it. And so we drink almost nothing now and have for many years.
Mm,
So, but again, alcohol causes oxidative stress and inflammation of the body and free radicals.
absolutely. What do you see for the future of food and specifically plant-powered nutrition?
People, ask about our product, and our
Yes.
product is a wonderful alternative to fruits and vegetables, but it's not a substitute.
Mhm,
Okay, so we do all the right things, but the complexity of eating um, plant-based foods such as broccoli, for example, you can't beat that. We're an awful lot better than what's number two,
mhm.
but and we'll continue to be, and we're continuing to work on different recipes and so on for.
Thank you so much. So, William, what I'm hearing through this conversation is that this isn't about choosing between whole foods and improved packaged foods. It's about raising the baseline of nutrition across the board. And of course, choosing what is best for our bodies while still helping people move towards a more nourishing way of eating over time. Um, I have some final questions, some rapid fire questions. So just answer whatever comes to your mind first. If you could change one thing about how we think about food in this country, what would it be?
Education.
Oh, such a good answer. Okay. And for you personally, what does real nourishment mean at this stage of your life and career?
Really, just carrying on and doing what we're doing. I mean, it's hard to believe I'm only 39, but
Yeah.
but I'm conscious of what I eat, what I do. If I need to go see a doctor, I will do that, and um, the more you can educate people on what to look for,
Mhm.
the more you're really going to add a positive contribution to all your listeners.
Absolutely. And I am sure that this is not our last conversation. I am really excited to do some deep dives about particular topics for the future. Um, you had mentioned off mic that there might be a discount for our listeners to go in and take a look at your products and if they purchase to use the discount. Can you tell me what the discount is again?
Okay, first of all, the website is
Yes.
NutriFusion.com. And on the top, there's a menu bar. On the right hand side, there's a tab that says store. Open up store, and they can go down and look and decide what they want. The one that I would recommend is our NF2782, which is the 12 nutrient blend. It'll give them the best value. 182 is pretty neutral. So
Okay.
that's the one we would recommend. But when they put in their order, use the word, it's all one word, love NutriFusion, all lowercase, and they'll get a discount.
Awesome. And listeners and viewers, if you're on YouTube, I will put both the website as well as the discount code in the show notes so you don't need to remember it. Um, this conversation has certainly been a reminder that nutrition is not just about eating better. It's about understanding what our food has become and making intentional choices that support how we want to live. William, I again am so honored that you joined me today. NutriFusion is really breaking barriers to our nutrition, especially for midlife people like me, midlife women who are busy and want solutions. Thank you so very much for being here today.
My pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.